from Lisa or Afyon.
Hi, Chair Foster. So we
Was it on me?
the agenda that we have on the website. The agenda that we have on the website is just committee business. I
Great.
reached out to Leah to get additional topics. But it seems that committee business is just going to be the general, whatever you two feel the committee should discuss.
Yeah, I apologize, Afyon. That was Leah did ping me about it. We were a little busy the last couple of days with the executive state of the county, so I profusely apologize for not attending to my duties. But I do, Chair Foster, I think you chaired the last committee meeting. Do you want me to take over, or would you like to? I'm happy to always defer.
That sounds fantastic, Hayok. Why don't I pass it off to you, and then we'll work through the items that we want to make sure that we attend to today. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you. I think the main thing that we, the kind of business of the Finance Committee, as many of you know, several weeks ago, following the establishment of the Finance Committee, Dr. Kinnison had shared with us some immediate hire needs that she had. It was delivered to, I believe, the governing board or the Finance Committee in memo form. And because of the way that we had established the Finance Committee, taking on a little bit more of an active role, I think many of us felt like it was interpreted that we would probably have to take a vote before releasing the hold on any kind of hire freezes for KCRHA. And as we can all, as we have had some individual conversations about, I think that could be an unintended bottleneck that none of us would have want to saddle KCRHA with, given some of the immediate needs, staffing needs that you have. And so the exec asked our Chief Budget Officer in King County, Aaron Rubart, who's also on this call with us, to go through and with his team assess and analyze those hire requests. And Aaron, if I could turn to you, if that's okay, to just kind of verbally run through the recommendations. I have it in front of me. I can run through it too, but maybe you could give us an overview of what those recommendations are. And we would like, there were 7 positions that Dr. Kinnison identified. And we have recommendations that Aaron and his team provided to the executive that we wanted to share with the rest of the Finance Committee and urge our consideration to follow those recommendations so that we can get some of those urgent staffing needs addressed for KCRHA. Is that okay with you all, that if we turn it to Aaron to just kind of run through those recommendations? Okay, seeing no objections. Thank you, Aaron.
Great, so thank you very much. And just wanted to walk through these recommendations. You know, a few caveats. I think last time we talked about the overall budget. There's an administrative budget. It looks like maybe the administrative budget will go over based on the last discussion. So I just want to highlight that this is not necessarily, from my perspective, we're not recommending to increase the administrative budget. We're just responding to the request for the hiring. So just want to be super clear about that. There were 7 positions that were requested by KCRHA, and just going through them are based on the discussion last time and the priority ranking that was provided by KCRHA. What we were recommending was to move forward with an accountant. In the finance folks, accounting is a clear focus area, especially for the rest of the year. So really support that request. There is some background shared on the Senior Director for Emergency Housing Services. Wanted to recommend that moving forward. There were 3 positions, a manager in procurement, the Director for Continuum of Care, and then the Senior Coordinator Emergency Housing Programs Department. We would recommend that those also move forward. There was discussion that there was potentially those hires would come from within. If that's the case, we would recommend that there's no backfill of any positions if there's internal promotions or movement. There was a coordinator contracts program department. There was a request to have that posted. We support that. I don't know where that is in the process, but support the posting. And then there was also a request that was kind of a low priority in the ranking from KCRHA for kind of a backfill or a second for IT and operations. We think this is important. I mean, we need to make sure the IT systems have continuity and that there's not a single point of failure within the organization on IT. So we think there should be a backfill, and we were recommending that perhaps the King County Information Technology team, KCIT, could loan someone to KCRHA to support that function. So that was our series of recommendations on the positions, and certainly willing to pause there. We also had a quick recommendation on the discretionary spending.
Could you go over that as well, Aaron?
Sure. So there was a discretionary expenditure request of, I think, $43,000, a little over $43,000. It's a pretty small request. The items on there looked pretty straightforward and kind of business as usual from our perspective. So because of the size, because of what they appeared to be, we said that we wouldn't want to hold that up or oppose it. So we would recommend that those expenditures occur.
Thank you so much for that overview, Aaron. And I'll jump in and say, I really appreciated the recommendations and the work that the executive's office did to develop this recommendation on how we approach the hiring requests. And I think what is important here is an acknowledgement of what we've been discussing at the governing board previously, and also here at the city and our Human Services Committee, which is that it's really important that we do not create a disruption in services. And so that these recommendations, the ability to move forward with these hiring positions, along with the recommendation that there's not backfill for those internal positions, from my perspective, seems to strike the balance that we are trying to achieve. And I think that those, alongside the announcement from the executive and the mayor earlier this week in terms of being able to embed additional support in the agency, seems to strike the right balance from my perspective. I'm eager to hear from other questions from other committee members on this topic. Hearing no questions or comments from other committee members on this. I believe that what we want to be able to do today, given the existing oversight authority of the Finance Committee, is to make a recommendation to the governing board that the governing board moves forward with a formal motion to adopt this recommendation so that the agency can proceed with hiring as outlined in the memo. So if there is any dissenting opinions or concern from Finance Committee members, I again want to turn to you to ask for that input now. Board Member Aviva, and then Board Member Jang. Jiang, sorry.
So first of all, thank you. I also appreciate this approach of having this rigorous evaluation. I don't see on here, however, what the cadence is, if these are all immediately and for what quarter or whatnot, because that does have budgetary impacts and benefits if you can wait and delay and whatnot. So can you speak to any of what we know about the cadence of hiring?
I can speak to it briefly, and then I would ask William, Natalie, if you don't mind a little bit. I'll just say one of the things in my conversations with the agency that's been clear is that these positions are in different places in the hiring process, and William can provide that overview, but some have already were previously posted and there were candidates identified. Some of the positions need to be posted and move on to recruitment. And so part of the reason that we wanted to act urgently in particular is because as we're in this moment, we want to make sure that for the positions, especially some of the key positions like the director for the COC programs department, we want to make sure that we're maintaining available candidates. But William is going to be better positioned to speak to that in detail.
Thank you, Chair Foster. I would just share, I think you did an excellent job of describing the exact situation we're in. So I have nothing further to add on that.
Okay. Board Member Aviva, does that answer your question, or is there any follow-up that would be helpful? Okay, you're on mute, but I think you said that's
Yes,
fine.
I said that's fine.
Okay, thank you so much. Board Member Jang.
Great, thank you. Yeah, thank you to Aaron and the whole team at King County for all your work on reviewing this in detail. Will we have an understanding of what the budgetary impact will be before we vote on to approve this at the board level?
Yes, Aaron, do you want to speak to that? I mean, the way that we, part of our confidence in moving forward with this recommendation is that it is not going to have additional impact on the budget. It is, in fact, there may be some net savings if the kind of backfill positions are not addressed. Is that correct, Aaron or William?
That would be my understanding. So these positions are already in the underlying budget. So filling these doesn't increase the budget. Not filling them would, decrease actuals, for example, but this would not increase the overall budget. So I would consider no budgetary impact. Any changes to the budget, again, I would defer to the governing board to make those decisions.
Okay, great. Thank you. And I understand, I mean, given that in the past there's been issues with administrative overspend, will we get an overview of, not backfilling these positions would have such and such, impact on the administrative budget?
I think that's a William, sorry, Aaron, I think that's a
Yeah.
William question to come back to our governing board on June 26th with William and team. And you're on mute.
Yes, that's, I think, a good topic for the next board meeting.
Great, thank you.
Some additional context I probably should have led with, but I didn't have my full cup of coffee this morning. I also just want to say part of the reason why these positions were in varying stages of hire is that you all may remember that when the KCRHA Finance Committee resolution was adopted, it wasn't the original intent as proposed by Councilmember Barone. Even at, towards the end of last year, I think I'm sorry, earlier this year at the governing board retreat, he raised this as a proposal that he wanted the board to take up. And so as earlier this year, this was already in motion. I think that we did not intend this for this to necessarily be sort of an approval step process, that it was really intended to be an advisory role and function, a critical one, but still advisory. And so part of what happened was also when the forensic evaluation came out, the mayor and the executive's letter communicating the forensic evaluation to Dr. Kinnison, and that was shared with the rest of the governing board, asked for kind of a freeze on hiring practices. And I think that was adopted into the finance committee's sort of scope. That's something that we should probably revisit just because I think some of the unintended consequences are a little bit of a bottleneck in the day-to-day operations of the organization, which I don't think any of us would have intended. So that is also why I just wanted to explain why they're in different varying phases of hire, because this is part of KCRHA's normal operations to try to, address critical needs while also staying within their budget. And I think that this, the way that we established the finance committee might have added a little bit more of a wrinkle bottleneck than intended.
Thank you so much for that clarification. I think it's very helpful, and one that, as you know, our office has been aware of and tracking to make sure that we establish both effective oversight and that we also allow the agency to continue carrying out day-to-day business. Are there any questions from other board members on the topic that that Co-Chair Kim just brought up? And I also want to acknowledge that Board Member Barone is here as well and may wish to speak to this issue.
Thank you, Councilmember Foster. No issues with me, but I just want to acknowledge that what Co-Chair Kim mentioned about my intending this to be an advisory committee was correct initially. So just want to reiterate that point.
And we will not be taking action on that topic today. However, it is something that we may decide to address as a collective in an upcoming governing board meeting. So for the time being, what we wanted to achieve today is a recommendation from the Finance Committee to the governing board that the governing board move forward with the proposal that has come from the executive's office and from Aaron. In order to move that forward, we actually, I believe we can send that over to the governing board. I hope you can hear me. I'm getting notifications that my internet is unstable. Okay, good. Given that we have, I believe we are unanimous in that support, what we will be doing is sending an email, a communication from the two co-chairs to the governing board, recommending that the governing board adopt this proposal. So that does not require a formal step from this body. Following this discussion, it will be action that we expect to be taking at an upcoming governing board meeting. Are there any questions on that?
I have another
Okay.
question.
Yes, Board Member Aviva.
I'm thinking about what Co-Chair Kim said about just the bottleneck of spending. Does the expenditures in here resolve that so that there's a line item of, discretionary spending? I remember Dr. Kinnison speaking to needing a laptop stand, like, where can she approve? Does this money cover those unintended or those unknown, variables that an organization needs, or is this just for the already things that were in the budget?
I think our recommendation, Co-Chair. I think our recommendation is for the agency to also, there was about $43,000 in discretionary funds that Dr. Kinnison had identified in her original hire memo recommendations. And I think our recommendation, again, our budget team, the county's budget team reviewed those, evaluated those, and our recommendation is that they all sounded sound, they all seem sound, and that we should, in addition to the positions that the agency, the recommendation is for the agency to go forward with those discretionary funds as well, if that's your question.
Yes, and what I'm speaking about is, so that's helpful. Thank you for that. Is also just the things that you don't know about. Is there any discretionary fund being identified to say, and then there's $5,000 or $2,000 or something so that the organization doesn't have to wait on the finance committee coming to line item the items? Have we considered that, or does this also take care of that?
I think that is also what we're trying to address at the next governing board meeting in terms of making sure that the finance committee kind of keeps to an advisory role as opposed to being a step in the operations that most boards, finance bodies of boards just don't play that role for the very reasons that I think we all have talked about.
Thank you. That answers my question. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. I think that was very helpful. Co-Chair Kim, did you want to bring any additional business to the committee for discussion today?
No, but I think Aaron we wanted to spend a little bit of time about, I know we've got about 6 minutes, just talking about going forward, what kinds of reports would be helpful for the finance committee to receive from KCRHA. And Aaron, did you want to speak to that?
Sure, thank you very much. So I think it would be helpful for this group as a finance committee to get kind of regular reporting from KCRHA on the financial situation. So what I was really thinking about is, and we covered some of this in the last meeting, but just a monthly report, or if that's the right cadence for, budget for services, actual expenditures for services, budget for administration, actual expenditures for administration, and then forecast till the end of the year. I think it would also be nice to see the cash balances in the investment pool, so there's shared awareness of that, as well as report out on the kind of the value of the open invoices and value of accounts receivables in the KCRHA finance system. So just having a series of financial metrics that this committee could look at on an ongoing basis, I would recommend that we have.
Thank you for
I'm
that, Erin.
seeing nodding. Oh, I'm seeing nodding from William, so.
Yeah, I was actually going to do the same thing and pass it over to William and say, I believe this is something the agency also sees value in.
Yes, 100%. And thanks for articulating those, Aaron. We would consider those to be ideal additions to other reporting that we have underway relative to the corrective action plan.
Thank you.
Okay. Is there any other business or items that committee members would like to bring up or have questions about, or would like KCRHA to come back to us with?
Not
Right.
seeing any. All right, fantastic. Thank you so much, Co-Chair Kim. I feel like we've actually achieved co-chairship very well in this communication today. So in terms of next steps, we will be sending the recommendation on to the governing board regarding these positions and these recommendations rather. And then I believe we should also expect to see action on the issue that Co-Chair Kim brought up in terms of the proper oversight and decision-making capacity so that the governing board and the finance committee can appropriately function in our independent, I shouldn't say in our independent, in our codependent roles as was originally intended. So we look forward to sharing more about that in the next couple of weeks before the board meeting, which I believe is on the 26th, excuse me. Okay. Thank you so much, and we really appreciate it. And a special thanks to you, Erin, for the work that your team did on putting together those recommendations.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye.